Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the viewers to my channel. I'm Mahadi Silepe. I'm a Lesotho YouTuber living in Perth.
...11-year-old. So anyway, my mom drove us kids first. So the four of us, my aunt stayed behind, and my mom drove us to cross the other side. So there were so many people around. A lot of people actually, at the beginning, we were lucky when we went. It wasn't as bad as the people that came before, but a lot of people left their car.
Yeah,
Just
people
and
leave
then
the
just
car
walked
because
it was so
couldn't
bad.
pass.
They couldn't pass.
It was a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually we managed to go through, and I don't know because I was young, but we ended up into what used to be the Congo, the barrack, because we were again, from the military. I think I don't know how the military people must have communicated connections with the other. So they had already formed an open area because it was all emergency, like it all happened quickly. So they had opened an area where they were going to receive all the families and the military people and the military people and their families. But it was an open. They had the barrack all around us, but we were in this open area. So mom left us there. We just had a mattress to sit on, and she was like, "I'm going to get my sister and the rest of the people, and the food, because people had stuck on food. That's literally all you cared about. Clothing was not a necessity at that moment. If you have what you're wearing, you are perfect.
Keep alive.
Yeah, because there was no shops,
Anyway.
And back in the 90s, we didn't have ATMs back in Rwanda. So if you needed money, you had to go in the bank. Now the bank have closed.
During the opening
During
hours.
the war. Now the bank have closed. So you see, people don't have money. They don't have cash. People that were smart enough had, withdrawn some money out before.
I worked in a bank. We were not allowed to give people more than 10,000.
Yeah, because a lot of people were getting money.
There was no supply of that money, so we wanted to let everyone share equally.
So we had stuck on food. So mom had bought bags of rice, bags of beans, so that we can at least have something to eat. So she went back to get all those things with her sister that she had left behind, maybe a few other people. And so she dropped us, the kids. So me, my 3 brothers, and my cousin.
At the border gate. Where were they left?
On the other side, in the camp,
area.
The Congolese barrack area, where they had, this open space for people. So and there were a lot of other people, which we didn't know. There were thousands and thousands of people. Probably there were people that I knew, but I don't know that they were there. Because there were so many people.
So there was this open space, and then you guys stayed somewhere else, separate.
We stayed right in that open space.
Okay, what I meant was, where was mom going to get?
She was going back home in Rwanda. Crossing
the border again.
The border again.
The person, because they are not fitting in the car.
We couldn't fit in the car to get the people and get her food. Because we couldn't all fit in the car with the food. So she went back, but then they had a rule that at 6 o'clock, the borders, the curfew, it was a curfew. So she couldn't come back. She didn't know about that. So we actually slept that night without our parents.
And you don't even know what happened to her?
No, we didn't know. Because, again, we don't have cell phone back in those days. So there's no way for me to say, "Hey, mom, what happened?" Or for her to say, "Hey, Yvette, we start, we'll see you tomorrow." So I'm like, has she been killed? Because you don't know what's happening, So they died, and I'm thinking, what am I gonna do with 4 kids? And I'm thinking, I only ever met, but I'm the oldest, so
it's interesting that that's what you're thinking.
Yeah,
you're not thinking, my mom. You know what I mean? It's like you're in a situation where you're not thinking adult thoughts now. You're thinking, okay, how do we survive this now? Like there's that adrenaline.
You're in flight. Is it flight?
Yeah.
Is that flight mode? Fight mode, or whatever they call that, flight mode. So I had time to think about mom, but after that I was like, okay. So the whole night I was just thinking. First I cried about my mom, but I'm also, I've got all these little kids. I don't want to cry, and then they wonder why is she crying, what's happening. So I'm trying to contain myself to be the bigger person.
How old were the younger ones?
My younger brother, the youngest of the youngest, was 5. My youngest brother, who's now 30, was I think about 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was the youngest. So 11. My brother and my cousin were 11. Then Steve would have been about maybe 7, and
9,
Cedric.
maybe? Oh, okay.
7, I think. And then Cedric was 5. So they were all young. And I'm like, so how am I going to feed these people? And I'm thinking, I had a camera. I don't know how I brought this camera. I just had this fancy camera that I had at home that I had carried. And I'm like, so if I sell this camera, how much am I going to get out? Like, how long is it going to feed us? What else can I sell? And in the middle of that, they actually stole our mattress. So Congolese that I love around the area of someone,
like,
they literally, I was sleeping on the mattress and the person came, 2 people came and pushed it off, and I ended up on the floor.
Wow.
And I watched them going, but I'm thinking, I can't scream.
What do you do?
You know, I just watched them going. So we didn't eat. That night,
no, man.
the people that were next to us recognized us. I didn't know the guy, but he must have recognized us. And so they gave us tea and bread because we didn't have anything. So we ate tea and bread that night. And we were like wondering. So mom turned up the next day around like 11.
But that's the sleeping in open.
Yeah, we slept in the open.
Yeah, because
there was no tent. It's just a big open area. Yeah, we all slept there.
It doesn't rain.
Yeah.
No, that was, you know, I don't know if it's a God's plan.
And it
we
usually
fled in summer. That was in July.
Oh, okay.
July,
Yeah,
August,
there's
summer.
no rain.
Yeah, there's no rain. So it was good. It didn't rain. And then mom turned back the next day around probably 11. 11 or something.
So
Yeah.
when Nelson, when you fled, where in Congo were you? Did you stay?
I went to the city anyway because there were no camps and I was not ready to go to camp anyway, living with people who hate my face. And we the local man who I was living in his house because I was renting his house.
Okay,
And
in Rwanda.
Back in Gisenyi. So he had gone to Congo and rent another big house and started transferring some of his stuff because he was a businessman who operated a very good shop with fancy stuff, liquor and things. So he was transferring some of his goods to Congo.
I see.
And he found that house. So when I moved, they had given me the address. So we kept looking until I found that area. So they accepted to put me with them because I didn't have anywhere to go. No one. So we lived together. Then I even had a chance to find a job quicker. A couple of days later, I found one friend was telling me they are looking for staff in this United Nations NGO World Food Program. They are recruiting people who can speak French and English.
And that was you.
So I had that luck. I went for interview. They said, come back tomorrow to the office, please. We will see your details.
And how long you in Congo for?
Just a week.
In Congo?
Just 1 week?
Yeah, just after 1 week, I found a job.
No, how long?
No. Okay, I mean altogether, how long did you stay?
I stayed there a year and 2 months.
Okay.
A year and 2 months or 3 months.
How long were you guys in Congo, Yvette?
Probably. So that was 94. Probably a year.
Okay.
A year and a bit as well.
Sort of similar time.
Yeah.
The time you each went to Congo, was it the same time?
It was around the same time.
Yeah,
different places.
The whole country was evacuated.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was literally the
So
whole
everybody
when the
would
Red
have
War
left
took
the
captured
same-
everywhere,
most people.
those who could, until they controlled the borders, people were still running out, coming out, living. Millions. There were millions. You couldn't know if there's anybody left in the country because everything had been really taken out. But when they took over, they started organizing life now in the country. Somebody asked me in Congo, you are one of us, Tutsi, can you come and help us now to put things back in order? I say it's not easy because there's a chaos. And I hear stories how these rebels are killing people. So they will still recognize me. If they ask me questions and I'm not one of them, I'll be in trouble. So I refused. Luckily, I got that job in Congo and I started working. I had, I think I didn't tell Yvette, maybe I told that, sorry. People were dying with cholera. How do you call it?
People had cholera.
Yeah, thousands on thousands. They were saying around 100,000 may have been died, may have been killed in that area where I was. So you could see in the morning.
And these were locals? Or
no, they're refugees.
Refugees.
Yeah. So you could see people lying down on the street all the way. Following day, they are no longer moving. Dead.
Because remember, all these people, we all fled in the place where we went. You know, Congo wasn't ready for us. So there's no facility. There's no clean water. People are just, pooing everywhere and doing all these things, and the results of all that uncleanliness created sickness.
From the information,
no clean water, no clean food, nothing, and then a lot of people. By the time UN had set up proper refugee camp and people were set, a lot of people had already died.
Yeah, a lot. So I had some one cousin died. He was living on that street as well. Well, I also got that cholera. And when I started having diarrhea, they told me that is it. So they asked me.
You are die hard.
The precautions you can take, clean water, whatever. There was no clean water, so you need to boil whatever you find. But boiling with what?
There's nothing to boil with.
This city was habitated by 250,000, and it had been invaded by over 2 million refugees.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So there was a chaos everywhere. Even at our church, the church was just a mess because people came and went.
But then you lived in a house.
Yeah, I luckily lived in a house.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
but we couldn't have water. Water was a big issue. Because so many people, you got the tap, nothing's coming.
Nothing.
Yeah. So I had the chance, someone told me, go quickly buy this tablet to the pharmacy. I went and bought this tablet. I took it and decided never to eat with hands or whatever, trying my best as I can. And this thing disappeared.
But you were very blessed because a lot of people didn't have money to buy those medications.
Exactly. And again,
that's how they
I was staying in a house where I could bath, where I could brush, things like that. So that saved me. Otherwise, so many people died. So I served that one. Now, when I looked around, when people were walking, looking for water, families were holding each other because you're moving in between a throng of thousands and thousands
Otherwise
of people.
You lose your person.
So they're having their bags on the head and they want water. They have maybe one small 5-liter container. The whole family will stand up and they all go together to fetch water 2 kilometers away. Because if you go, you want to know where you were.
Yeah.
So
because
people have lost their children. Children lost their parents forever. That time during that situation. So when you hear someone screaming, where's my mom, where's my dad, and the men looking, where's my wife, where's my children? So what happened? They were looking for water, but they don't know where they were sitting. They came back because there's no address. So the people became now clever. Decided to go together, all of them, to the river where they can find water, even this dirty water still, and they come back together. But their spot has been taken by other people now. There's nowhere to sit and organize their cooking. There was smoke everywhere in the city because people were using whatever they can find to cook. People who had fled with their books, they were opening the bags and use the books to make tea. So it was really a chaotic situation.
And diplomats to make fire.
Anything you could find, clothes, whatever. So
it sounds like a movie.
I saw dead bodies everywhere on the street.
Yeah, it was bad.
Everywhere. My first week when I had this job, I was going to work at the airport. So when they were driving me, we passed near the dead body. There's MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, this NGO France, was the first one who took initiative to clean the city now, removing the dead bodies. But sometimes they were correcting people who were not completely dead.
Yeah.
So they were throwing them in a truck, like trash. That's how people were being.
Because there's so many of them. There's no other way you can do it.
They had a tractor that dug a big pit at near the airport. So they were going to throw people there.
Yeah.
And they go and open and go back and clean again.
So
some people were alive. We have seen people who scream when they were opening this truck to throw.
You just hear the scream.
And when you look inside, you see hundreds of
people. So you don't even know who's screaming.
You don't know who screamed.
So you can't help.
Yeah. And no one is going to risk to jump in. It's even far. There's no ladder, there's nothing.
No way to come back.
And you don't even know who you're bringing, and you're not even sure if this person will survive. So this is a situation that people don't know. There are still pictures. If someone looks at Congo, the humanitarian disaster in Congo, 1994, July, the pictures can be seen how it was. So many people died.
Wow.
So it was really sad. So I got this job, started working luckily at the airport where it was really okay, receiving humanitarian aid and going to work, coming back home. We survived like that until forced repatriation came. They wanted people go back home now to Rwanda. Because the government was thinking these refugees are so many, they can organize and they come back and fight again. So they wanted to repatriate people so that they can control them. But when this NGO was working, the director called us, which was the UN emergency coordinator. He asked the local staff from Rwanda. They made an announcement, you have a meeting at work, after work, please pass to the office. We went there, they said, we had information, there will be a war here, Rwanda wants to attack Congo, and you are the one targeted. So we don't want you to be killed. Guys, you've been working well with us, but we need to close the contract.
Oh, that's how... And the end of that...
Find where you can go. They showed us the map in the office. And they say, if you're gonna go to Kenya, the flight is free. If you're gonna go to, because it has a UN link every time, UN offices in Nairobi and banks, where the banks were operating. So every time they bring the money from there. Now, if you wanna go other places, it's on your own. But we pay you the money, it will be enough to get your ticket, whatever. But please run. So that's how I left.
Why didn't you go to Kenya?
I didn't want to go to Kenya because my money will be finished quickly. There was no chance to survive there. It was an expensive city. And again, I knew there were a lot of Rwandans who fled there. There will be again some more trouble of repatriation again. So in my thinking, I said I will go where there's less people. So I decided to go south. Zambia.
Okay, so in our other sitting, we spoke about how you guys met and that you met in Malawi. So can you quickly just mention the countries you went to before you got to Malawi, and then tell us about how you left Malawi? And I want to hear how you ended up in South Africa and how you then ended up here, because right now we're in Perth, you know. After all this story we went to hear, how do you then end up here in Perth?
Until she will perhaps tell how she left Congo to Kenya.
Okay.
That is a very exciting moment.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I don't know if it's exciting. So
for people who like movies.
I don't know if it's exciting, but so we were in Congo, and as Nelson said, they started having this forceful repatriation where they would just take people by force back to Rwanda. So it became really unsafe to be there. If you were in the camp, it wasn't too bad, but then they were going to attack the camp. So I remember like the weeks prior to the attack happening, it was, my mom was like getting us ready. This is what she did. So we sold our car to get a bit of money. She sold anything that she had that could get her money. And she would roll notes. So in Congo, they use dollars because their money is very. I don't even know if it exists. It's non-existent.
US
They're actually US
like
dollars.
in Zimbabwe.
It's like paper.
So
So they use US
devaluation.
dollars. So she would actually roll 100 notes of dollars, and then she would sew it on all of our clothing, just in case we get lost. She's like, if you get lost and you're on your own, at least remember you've got this money to to eat, and everyone in their bag had like portions of food that my mom had packed, just in case if she loses you somewhere on the way. That was her thinking, because it had happened so many times. Like, I've got one of my cousins, she ended up growing up with her mom and her brother, and she lives here now. And then her other two brothers fled with her dad. So only 10 years ago they re-met at my age. So for 20 something years, the family live separated. So all those kind of things happen to a lot of people. So my mom was thinking like that anyway. It got really worse that we ended up flying to Congo. So at this stage we don't have passports. We had passports, but Congo is a very tricky place to live. It's if you have money you can fly.
My passport was not even allowed because
At that stage,
Rwanda cancelled the previous passports.
We still, because we use them later. It depends on what country you were going to. At that stage. So, but what happened is there was a priest. Was he a priest or a pastor?
A pastor.
Pastor from home.
A bishop.
A bishop, and then he happened to had a lot of money, so he had hired a plane in Congo to help Rwandan to fly to Kenya, but you had to pay.
Oh, you had to pay. Okay.
You had to pay.
It wasn't free.
It wasn't free, but it was the easiest way rather than getting another flight, because you were not gonna get a visa with your Rwandan passport. Our passport were not valid in Congo. So he hired it, and so from Congo to Kenya it's a 45 minutes flight, if I'm right. To Nairobi?
Was it a petit hotel?
No, it was a very tiny.
Small one.
Yeah, very small plane. Like
20 people or?
It's not meant for 20 people, but we were like stuck in like cabbages. I remember with our bags, everything on you, it was bad. It was bad. We went in and I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna die here. Overload. And it was $1,000 per person. So during that time, you had to pay $1,000. So my mom, US dollars for all of us, 4 of us to fly.
For 45
Could it be
minutes?
an hour and 40 minutes?
Okay, maybe an hour and 40 minutes. For the 4 of us, plus my mother to fly, she had to pay 5,000. No, because
there's no other way.
It's a commodity. If you have the money, you go. If you don't have the money, you're gonna die anyway. So you might as well pay the money and go. You know what I mean? So for those that had the money, they paid the money.
And left.
And those that didn't have the money, a lot of them died in Congo. A lot of them fled through the thicker forest of Congo, and other people.
Or use the boat.
Yes.
And drowned in the rivers.
So they use other means. But for them, for those that were, you would say, blessed with the money, they were able to fly. So we flew to Kenya in that way, in this little, very, very packed little plane.
And you made it.
And we made it, yeah. We almost did not make it because then there was thunders and it started raining. And I remember we were over the Victoria Lake, and the little plane, it was windy and raining so badly.
And overloaded.
And overloaded at the same time. And it was shaking so bad. And I'm like, we're not going to make it. But because of a lot of things we had already seen, it feels like you get, you're not that scared anymore. Like, it's like you're frozen. Numbed. You get numbed. So I think we were all numbed. Like, I was numb. I was like, I had a very I don't care type of attitude. Like, I'm like, it's almost like I died already anyway. Happened. Yeah. And eventually we made it on the other side.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And how long were you in Kenya for, and then where did you go? How did you end up in Malawi?
So in Kenya, I actually don't know what happened when we got to Kenya. I don't know where we ended up. All I remember is we ended up renting a place, and we lived.
Do you know which part of Kenya?
Yeah, we were in Nairobi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were in Nairobi. So Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya, and that's where most of the refugee ended up, in different places. So we ended up in a place at the beginning called Kayole. So it's a very poor place, and it's such a contrast, because when you walk through the streets, you've got what they call Komarok states on this side. So in Kenya, there's a lot of states.
Okay.
Or estates.
Or estates rather, where it's like, like a lot of houses built the same way in an enclosed place, and they call them estates.
Okay.
And it's, that's how
like
a lot of
gated communities.
Yeah. So on this side, you've got the estates called Komaroks. It was a very popular, very nice and fancy one. And then on the other side, you've got Kayole, which is, the worst of the worst. Yeah. So you get your cheap.
It's like Santin and.
So it's like Soweto, but the worst part of Soweto, Or if you are in Durban, it's like Kwamashu, but the worst side of Kwamashu, where you get all these horrible houses built with shacks, like shack type of houses. Yeah. And then there's a few apartments, but not the cleanest of apartments. So we lived there for a while, and then when we got there, and then eventually we moved to a better place. And so we lived there for a year and a half, I think. But life was expensive. The same reason why Nelson didn't want to go there, because you're not working.
Yeah.
And then the little that my mom had was getting finished, and we were in school. So we went to school. So Rwandan established their own schools, because we were from French, and in Kenya they speak English as their second language. So a lot of us couldn't really go to their school.
Could you speak English though?
No, I really wanted. Even though I had learned it in school, but I always didn't really care about it.
Okay.
But my brothers went to a normal primary school, so I had to adapt quickly to the English language. Then my mom put me in a refugee. Refugee had established their own school in Kenya. And so I went to that school. So you also had to pay for that school. So my mom is still paying for school fees. She's paying for rent, and the food. Most of the food that we ate, they were like churches and other places that used to give. Yeah. So in the morning, her job was to go to all those places. Some places will give you money. Some places, and as a woman, if you're a man, you wouldn't get anything. So most husbands would just stay at home doing the cleaning, and then they would send their wives to all these places, to all these different places.
The future is
to get the future. It's feminine. And then women will come back with food, with money, with clothes, because there was all these different NGOs that would help. So that's how we lived. Besides, my mom would pay the rent, and then our food came from all those bits and pieces, and we will go to churches that we didn't go to before, because at the end of the service they always used to give food, So there's this one church you would always get like a kilo of sugar, a kilo of like your pap flour, lentils, some pastas. So if we are going there and we are like 4 people and each person is getting that, that's a lot of food for us. Yeah.
But curiosity, you were not Adventist. I was going to ask you if Adventist church were also giving.
No, that was in Adventist.
I'm not
those
sure.
Those were
Sundays.
Those were Sunday churches. Those were Sunday churches where they used to give people things at the end. So we survived on that. Then after Kenya, it came to a point where my auntie. So at that stage, we had met with my other auntie and her kids. So and then. They were like, things are not going well here. We can't work. Refugees were not working. Most people that were surviving are people that could do hair. They made a lot of money out of hair, to a point that people were actually made money to go to Europe, to buy tickets to go to Europe and establish themselves in Europe. So if you knew how to make hair or sew clothing, those were the people that made money. And then some people opened like restaurants and stuff like that. So my aunt and mom decided, they had heard that there is jobs in Swaziland and somewhere else further to South Africa. So that was the aim. So one day, 2 moms decided, we are going, we can't keep living here. Let's go. They had done the itinerary, knew what bus we were going to take from one place to another. So we took a bus from Kenya to stop to Tanzania, We slept there for like 2 days, and then proceeded to Malawi. From Tanzania,
border.
And then when we got to the border, that's where we incurred issues, because then they didn't want to stamp into our passport. And then that stage, we didn't know that you could travel without a passport. We kind of like figured that out a bit later. So we were like, we can't continue our journey, because they said, okay, we'll let you go through. But so we spent so much time on there. We'll let you go through, but we're not going to stamp it. So that was political. So as I said, some countries were recognizing it, and other countries had stopped recognizing the Rwandan
and Malawi has been the best country ever we have entered, because the Malawian government was very good with refugees. So they don't chase anyone. They were just accommodating and understanding whether you have a visa or not.
So we ended up crossing through to Malawi with no visas. And my auntie, there was a priest, the same priest that had hired the plane, had already settled in Malawi, in the city, and he was my auntie's pastor back home. So she knew he was there. So we went straight to him, and I think we slept there for a night.
It's amazing.
We stayed there for a while, and then eventually he was like, you know what? There's a refugee camp. I think you should go to the refugee camp, because you can't keep going with no passport, with no stamp. What are you going to say on the other side? How did you get into Malawi? So then
into Swaziland.
So we then proceeded to the refugee camp.
That's how we ended up there.
That's how we ended up at the refugee camp in Malawi.
In the refugee camp. Because so people who are watching, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, they met at the refugee camp in Malawi, and that's where they got married. But we will not talk about that story, because there's a special video for that bit of the story. But I want us to hear how they got into Malawi.
Yeah.